All right, everyone, our next guest is a reporter who eventually became the news. One day she was at the Route 91 Music Festival and a horrific thing happened, and we wanted to hear her story firsthand. Introducing Gabriella Castania. Gabrielle, thank you for being on The Vault. How are you?
Good, how are you? Very excited to be here.
Good, good. I want to just jump right into the questions. If you could talk to us a little bit about how your journey began as a journalist.
Yeah, of course. So I always knew I wanted to get into the entertainment industry, and I've always been really creative with writing. And it wasn't until junior college, I'd say, that I realized I can combine both of those worlds because I didn't want to act and I didn't necessarily want to be a writer. And I took a couple communications classes and realized, oh, okay, I can do journalism. So I fell in love with it after those classes, and then I went to university and pursued it more there.
Perfect. So could you tell us, once you got out of college, what types of projects did you work on? I know you were in journalism. Could you elaborate on some of the stories you covered as well as other jobs that you had in the industry?
Yeah, so I worked at a top radio station, Power 106. I worked there, and I worked with a DJ there Fridays and Sundays. And then I also freelanced entertainment stories, anything that was really breaking news or trending. I mostly focus on entertainment. Yeah, and those are the two things I focused on after school.
So tell me what you are most passionate about when it comes to reporting the news.
What I'm most passionate about is that everyone needs to be aware of what's going on in the world. And I think there's so many different platforms that we can do it now. And I think that's what I'm most excited about when it comes to reporting is you can go on Snapchat, you can do Instagram. Everything is so quick and at your fingertips. And being able to share that and be creative with that is super exciting.
So do you think sometimes the news can desensitize a reporter because they just are covering it every day for their job? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because it is your job and you're trying to find the best clips and the best sound bites, you're trying to be the best reporter you can be. You put away all your emotions and you don't focus on that. You're just trying to get the best sound bites and videos and everything you can so your clip or your footage is the best. So yeah, you're not really focusing, I would say, on what people are saying too much or connecting with them on a deeper level like you really would. I think the first couple times you report on a tragedy, it is hard, but then after that, you definitely become desanitized.
Well, I would also think that since you just see it over and over again, like it seems like in the news all the time, there's negative news about kidnappings and killings and murders and mayhem. I mean, it just seems like every day just gets crazier than the next. And, on some level, as to get ratings for a TV station, you also have to think of like the most sensational clips. And so that, I think, because I've also reported the news too, can help make it harder for you to empathize with the victims of your news stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about who can get the most extreme or who can get the most, I guess, footage to go viral. That's what everyone wants now is, clicks and likes. And I think that's really mostly what reporters are focusing on now.
So what advice would you give to reporters that are coming up right now in the industry? What would you tell them?
I would say definitely don't give up on yourself. You have to be your biggest supporter because starting off, no one's going to think you're credible or no one's going to believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. And sell yourself like you're a professional and people will definitely take that leap of faith with you. And you're going to hear a lot of no's. No's are the biggest thing. Don't get discouraged though. I know there's going to be low points and some people, everyone's on a different journey. You're not going to be on the same journey as one person or another. So just focus on yourself, keep your passion strong, and keep going.
So you were actually reporting the news for many years, and then unfortunately you became part of the news. You were at the Route 91 Music Festival, which was in Las Vegas in 2017. And I'd like to know if you could elaborate on your experience of what happened there. It was the biggest mass shooting in American history. Could you tell us what happened?
Yeah, of course. So I was with a group of friends. Me and a friend that were there at the concert with the rest of my friends left due to a freak accident. Someone spilled, or not someone, a worker, I guess, that was working there spilled porta potty sink water all over my boots. And they weren't my boots, they were my aunt's. So we went to go change them and clean up. And within the time that we were at the hotel, I would say within an hour, we got a phone call from my friend's sister saying that there was a shooting going on, or a shooter. They thought it was a single shooter. I didn't know. And then the phone hung up. So it was really scary. We didn't know what was going on or what the situation was. And Then I told my friends, I was with my friend and then another friend who wasn't at the concert. I said, everyone, stay calm. It might just be one shooter. You don't know what's going on. And within seconds of saying that, people were flooding in the hotel that I was in and saying that there's a shooter, run, run. There's shooters, they're everywhere. I see them. And it was just chaos. It was like if you were in a horror movie and you see everyone screaming and running. That was exactly the scene that we saw.
And they're all running towards you, saying that the shooter is behind them.
Yes, exactly. And our rooms were where they were coming from. So no one had a choice but to run to the opposite side of the hotel. And so me and my friend, we saw each other and we knew we had to run. Our guy friend who was there with us took the lead and was like, let's go. We don't have a choice. And after that, we got in an elevator, had to push people out because there was no room. People were flooding in and freaking out and trying to find shelter just to hide. And once someone said that they had a room. It was an older lady, and she said, yeah, everyone can come in my room. It's not a big deal. And then we got off on her floor. And then once we got to her room, she said, no, you guys can't come. There's no room. And that was one of like the hardest things to hear because we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if people were coming in the hallways to come kill us. You don't know what it was. No one knew at that point. So there was a stranger who was at the concert who took the lead and said, lady, this is going to be on your conscience if something happens to us, but we're going to take the stairways and we're going to go on each floor and start knocking on doors. So from, I would say, that was the 6th floor to the 11th floor, we went through the staircase. He led us the whole way. I would say he was the hero of the group. He led us the whole way, looked in the hallways to make sure, there was no one, no shooters or anything, and we kept knocking on doors. No one answered until the 11th floor. I mean, why would you? Everyone's terrified. So we finally got in a room, I would say.
Who let you in? Who let you in their room?
It was a really nice group of guys. They were on the elevator, they said, with us. I don't remember. A lot of these moments, because you are so traumatized, you black out. A lot of them, even taking it back to the beginning before we got on that main elevator, my friend said we tried a different elevator, and that was an elevator taking us to the outside. That was a worker's elevator. I don't even remember that because I blocked it out of my memory completely. But yeah, it was a group of guys that were on the elevator with us, and they remember hearing us and saying, yeah, you guys can come in. So finally we got shelter and we turned on the news, and it was horrifying. We just saw the same clip that all of you guys did who weren't there. Over and over, the news just kept playing, oh, there's a shooter, and they kept replaying the noises and the shooting that was happening. Meanwhile, about, I would say 10 of our friends were down there or more. And we didn't know if they were okay or what was going on. The news kept talking about bombings. They kept talking about multiple shooters. So it was very scary. It was like we were sitting there and we knew we were going to die.
So can you tell me about what was going on with your friends at the same time? Where you said some of them were at ground zero, basically, while the shooting was happening?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Most of them were. Me and my friend were the only two that left an hour before the shooting happened.
That must have been horrifying. So they were just basically left with no protection and like getting fire from above, right?
Yeah, it was horrible. So luckily, the shooting took place mostly in the front of the stage, and they were there. And then for some reason, they moved. They have no idea why. They just knew that they moved. But it was the last act, and they were so excited to see him. They still don't remember why they moved. But thank God they did, because that's where the main shootings were, or the shooter focused.
So tell me about, you had 3 friends specifically, 2 of them that were paralyzed with fear. I remember you telling me. And then another one of your friends that was helping them. Can you kind of elaborate on that story?
Yeah, so we had a bunch of friends down there. The friend that I was with, she had 2 sisters down there. So that was really hard on her. We didn't hear from them yet for a while, actually. So she didn't know if they passed or if they got shot or they were hurt or nothing. And also, who was my boyfriend at the time, he was down there with his brother and the rest of the group of friends. And basically everyone split up. My friend's sister, Alexis, she got separated, and she was located in the Tropicana by herself. So she was horrified because she was by herself. My friend's other sister was with a friend, and they got separated. And my boyfriend now and his brother at the time were helping people. They got on their knees and helped people jump over the fence, and were helping people just exit because they said it was chaos and the exits were the way of the shooter. So they had no choice but to hop over fences.
So but you were specifically telling me, and that must have been horrible to go through. But you were saying, and I think it might have been your boyfriend was carrying two people.
That was a friend that I met in school. Coincidentally, I had a writing class with her, and we were writing about one of the most, life-changing events of our lives, and got to talking about what we were going to write about, and she was there, and her friend and her friend's boyfriend helped carry them. Every time the shooter stopped, he would run with them, and then once the shooter started again, he would jump on top of them for protection, which was a lot of the guys. That was what a lot of the guys were doing. If you watch a lot of interviews, which is really hard to do, but if you watch a lot of them, they talk about how nice people were, complete strangers, and they were like, come with me, no, I'll protect you, come with me. And that's what people were doing, is just putting their lives on the line for complete strangers, because those people that did that are heroes. And that's what I felt the guy that we were with was like. He was a hero, and he was the first one to lead the way, and if a shooter was there, he would have been the first one to get shot and tell us. So wow. Yeah.
So like you said, your friends were paralyzed by fear. And luckily there were some people who were there to kind of think quickly and react and get out of harm's way.
I was going to say what mainly caused them to be frozen. It's not that they were frozen with fear, that too, but it's because for some reason they said you can hear the shooting everywhere you were. You run this way, it sounds like it's coming from there. You run this way, it sounds like it's coming from that way. So they didn't know which direction to go, so they were almost stuck. It was like feeling, which we felt in the hotel because we didn't know what we were going through. It's like you're just exposed. You don't know if you turn your back if that's going to be the last time that you're going to, take a breath, or what's going to happen. So yeah, it was a lot. I every day think about all of the people that were down there and how lucky me and my friend were to have not been there. But at the same time, it comes with a lot of guilt, and it comes with a lot of, sadness that we couldn't help those people. And it's just, I think about the people that passed away every day is what mostly I think about. It's not my situation I mostly think about. It's what they had to go through.
So I can imagine just like your everyday, afterwards. Could you, before you get into that part of it, could you talk about what your rock bottom moment was during that incident?
During the actual incident or after?
Both, actually.
During the incident, my rock bottom moment, well, I had two. When we were running down the hallway, which it was in the MGM, and it was a part of the MGM that we have never been, me and my friends, and it was a huge hallway. There was even the escalator walkways, and I remember running through it and just feeling so exposed and feeling like if someone's behind me, they're going to shoot me. There's no one behind me. I was just running, and that would have been it. So I called my mom, and I told her goodbye, because that's all you could do. I mean, you wanted to make sure that you at least said goodbye and made sure they knew what was going on. And at that point, the news didn't report it yet because it was so soon. So she had no clue. So that was one of my rock bottom moments, was saying goodbye to my family.
What did you tell your mom? Could you kind of recount that conversation?
Kind of. All I remember screaming is that there's a shooter, and I'm sorry, and I love you, and I don't know what's going on. And she doesn't really, I don't know, she doesn't really remember it either. She just remembers like, what are you talking about? And the phone kept cutting in and out because the hotel service, so that was hard. It was very frantic. I couldn't really talk to her either, because from running so far, people actually shuttle to opposite sides of the MGM. And because it was so far and we ran so far, my chest and my stomach, that's one of the things I remember too, is I physically running up the stairwells and running, I couldn't breathe and it was burning, and my friends were like, no, we have to keep going. It's basically, it's survival. You don't know what, our experience is so different from the people that were on the floor and at the concert still, from our loved ones, but we were still running for survival too. And that's what it is everyone just running to survive, and they didn't know what was causing it. And the other rock bottom moment was sitting there and hearing the news saying that there was bombs in other hotels, or they were assuming that there was bombs and it was a terrorist attack, and every hotel was basically just a sitting duck. And then I called my grandparents and said goodbye. So
man, it kind of reminds me of 9/11, like where you don't know what's going to be hit next, what target is next. And thank God that it was apparently only one shooter. I know you said that you had told me also before this interview that you thought maybe it was multiple shooters, but I'm just grateful that there weren't shooters that were running on the streets also during that day, because it's just like, sounds like the most scary, horrific experience ever to not know what direction danger's coming from, and I can imagine that must have been super hard. Could you talk about the aftermath and really how you picked up the pieces from that whole ordeal, you and your friends?
Yeah, so we knew right away that we were going to have a lot of therapy to come up because we walked downstairs after we left the room around like 2 o'clock in the morning after the news said it was safe. They got the guy, they got the shooter, and everyone was free, to go back to their rooms and wherever they were going. That walk back to the room was the most horrifying walk back I think I've ever had. We walked through the casino and the bells were making us even jump, and we knew after that, we weren't going to be the same. And I think that's the most devastating part of it, is that you're never the same. You change a lot as a person every day. You go to the mall or, excuse me, you go to the movies or everything. It's shopping, food, anything. Your innocence is gone, a lot of it. And how you pick that up is you don't have a choice. You do it for the people. Sorry, excuse me.
You have every reason to be sad about like what happened, so.
You do it for the people that passed away, because they wouldn't want you to be sad or stop living your life or put yourself on hold. So you don't have a choice. And one of the ways we did that is we had a lot of group dinners with everyone that was there, all of our friends, which thank God they all survived and weren't hurt. We had a lot of dinners. Aftermath, we tried to go donate blood, but remarkably, all of the donation places were full, which was amazing. Immediately in the morning, all the blood donation places were full, and we tried doing that, and we went to group therapy one of the times, and still to this day we have reunions and dinners each year to remind ourselves how lucky we are and to celebrate the people that passed away, because that's what it's about. It's not about remembering the shooter, because no one's, if you look at interviews and you talk to people who were there, it's not about him. He's not important. It's about the people that passed and how amazing everyone was when they got together and put themselves together to protect each other, and everyone's complete strangers. It's about celebrating life, and that's what you have to do. Just take each day at a time and understand that you won't be the same, but that's okay, and that it's important to continue what you're going to do, because everything happens for a reason. So.
Yeah, I agree. Would you talk a little bit more about the survivor's guilt that you experienced after the incident?
It happens a lot, actually, especially that first year was very hard. Me and my friends, Suriel and Sarah, who are both with me, Suriel wasn't at the concert. He was there just to be in Vegas, being a boy, and Sarah was at the concert with me. Those were her sisters that were there, and we have a different experience than the rest of them. We feel very guilty we weren't there to help. We feel very guilty we weren't there to protect them and the stuff they had to see. You hear their stories and you feel so bad. You feel incredibly horrible, and then you feel horrible for the people that passed. You think, why them? I could have been at the concert. I was at the concert, Why wasn't it me? Why wasn't it my time? And you try not to think like that, and you talk to a bunch of people and they say don't think like that and everything happens for a reason, but I don't believe that it was those people's time. But that survivor's guilt follows you every year. This year, even the second year anniversary after the dinner, the next couple of days after the anniversary, it really got to me. Again, I feel like every year it's just gonna remind you like how lucky you are to be alive, but at the same time, the people that survived each experience, you feel guilty because one person not had it worse than the rest, because it was horrible all around. It's just you feel bad, or you feel sad for the people that had it so bad or didn't get to go home and hug their parents or their families.
So how do you reconcile that? How are you able to have peace knowing that, in all honesty, you really had no way of helping those people. You were in a position where you weren't able to aid in any way. How are you able to have peace with that?
A lot of talking it over and reassurance from the people that were there. My boyfriend reassures me all the time. He was there, and he's a hero. He was one of the people helping, him and his brother were helping people over the fence, and they saw horrible, horrible things. He reassures me all the time that, look, your story's different. you were there with us at the concert, but for some reason you weren't supposed to be at the concert when it was happening. And he, most of them do talk about that and how, look, you guys, I know that you have that guilt, and I know that you wanted to be there to help us, or do what you think that you could have done at the moment, but you were not supposed to be there. It's hard having a different experience in them. I'm grateful I was not there and didn't have to see a lot of those things, but at the same time, that's my boyfriend and my friend. Those are her sisters. They're like sisters to me. I can't. It breaks my heart that they had to see that, and our experiences are so different.
So how did that strengthen the relationships you had? Obviously, they're sisters, but I mean, with that group, I mean, you shared that similar trauma, and how did that definitely strengthen that bond between you?
Yeah, it's a bond that we know will never be broken now. I mean, people that I wasn't so close with became family because there was, acquaintances there, but within the same group. And then there were people like Sarah, and who was my friend with me, and Suriel and Lexi, who was her sister, and Rose, all those people, my boyfriend. Those bonds will never be broken. And even the sisters got have a better relationship now after that night, because I just remember them walking in, Sarah and Lexi and Rosie walking in to the hotel room finally after getting them back, because we weren't able to go get them back out of the other hotels. And once they walked in, it was just relief, and it was like, I don't know how to describe that feeling. It was relief, and to know that we all survived and we all had similar situations, to have each other.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, just to have each other is knowing that that bond can never be broken. No matter what happens in life, no matter how far you go, we can always have each other to call or text saying, hey, I'm having a really crappy day. It's been hard. I've been thinking about the anniversary. How are you feeling? And a lot of the times they're feeling the same, which is, it's nice to have. And the Route 91 community in general is great. They have outreach programs. They have Facebook pages. That is the most beautiful thing too, is there's so many people and so many outlets you can talk to. Unfortunately, there were so many people at the concert, but the fortunate thing is that there's people to talk to because of that reason.
So tell me the value of the survivors' stories and why it's important to actually be on the show for you to recount your story to as many people as possible.
I want to eventually be, I know I'm strong enough now. I'm a very strong person. I've had to deal with a lot in life, but I want to be strong enough one day to be able to talk about this so confidently, to where I can help others that have gone through, very traumatic experiences like this. This is 1 in a million. You never think in a million years you're going to be in a situation like this, or your friends or family are going to be in a situation like this. And it changes your whole life and your outlook on life. And I don't want people to stop living their lives because of that. And a lot of my friends agree. You can't stop living your life. You can't let this guy stop you from doing things. And in the beginning, people that go through these things, they're going to feel like that. They're going to feel like there's no hope and they're never going to get better, and you can't go in places. Just a lot of, different scenarios. But I want to be able to help people. And I think all survivors, are helping each other and helping people. It's important that they talk about it, because even though it might not be to this extent of a situation, there's a lot of trauma going on in the world right now, and people need someone to relate to or hope. Because if not, I wouldn't be able to have gone through this without my friends or family, definitely. Or the other survivors talking.
So I know in our pre-interview you talked about, why did I want to interview you? Because you were not actually in the fray of everything, like where actually people were getting shot. Why you? Why do you think I should interview you over anyone else? Or not even over them, but why should I have you on this show?
I struggle with that too, believe it or not. But at the same time, I have a story, and that's what my boyfriend and all of my friends say that were there. It doesn't matter. Everyone's story is different that was there. And it's important that we all share it and express it, because you don't know how it's going to affect someone, or it's going to hit them like, wow, I can relate to that. Or, oh my God, I had the same experience when I was in Vegas. I was there that night, and you just don't know. And while at the same time, we weren't there when the shooters were there, or there weren't actual shooters, as they say, in the hotels that we were in. We were running for survival. We thought there were shooters, and all we knew is that we had to run to survive. We didn't know if that was going to be, or if those were going to be the last moments. So to call family and to think that all of your loved ones have died because there's a mass shooter, and all you're seeing on the news as you're sitting there saying there's bombs, you're a part of the attack, whether you were at the concert or not. But I do feel it is important why I like sharing my stories, because I like telling a lot about the other people that were there, a lot of my friends' stories, and sharing their stories, because not that they're, like I said, everyone experienced something different. No one is, higher than the other, but it's important that those people share because they saw horrible things that are going to change their lives forever, and they still are dealing with the post-traumatic stress. So
Well, and the trauma was very real. The fear was very real. You had probably a lot of the same symptomatic elements of fear that the people who were there did. And, the fact that you're very articulate, I think, helps because maybe your friends don't want to go on camera. Maybe they don't want to recount their horror stories, but yet, they can tell you. And plus, since you did have a perspective of that same fear and trauma, that you could be an advocate and a champion for, talking about how to overcome fear, how to tackle big topics like gun violence, and then how to move on and put your past in your past, which is, I think, what you're talking about, and trying to create a new future from whatever adversity you had. Like, you are like that rock. You are the strong personality. And I think that's what drew me to your story, is I really wanted people to see, you are tough. And this is just a really great chance for you to kind of show the world, how strong you truly are.
yeah, and I agree with what you said is all of the trauma. It was all the same, they're all the same symptoms and we all still go through them. Oh my gosh, do you hear that? Or does that still make you jump? Or can you go into public places? And we're all at different levels too. And that's what's hard is some people can go to concerts and be fine. And other times we'll go to a concert and it's hard and we can't make it through the whole concert. It's trauma that everyone went through. But like you said, it's important that we talk about it. And a lot of my friends don't like talking publicly about it because it is too hard. So if I could be that voice to share their story, especially, and mine, then I would love to do that for them.
I was going to say, have you heard about that organization? I think it's one guy who actually, he makes crosses for all the victims of gun violence, and then he goes to that city and he delivers those crosses for them to have on display to mourn their family members. What would be your impact? How would you help survivors of, is it just gun violence, or what would be your specific?
Well, I definitely want to raise awareness with gun violence because it's such a problem right now. It's a very controversial topic, I know, in our country, but once people experience something that we all went through, then I think they'll change their perspective. People have a very closed mind until it affects them. I believe that, they're strong in their opinion until it affects them or a family member or a friend. And I definitely would like to raise awareness with that and realize, if there's been more shootings than days in a year, there's a problem. These type of things shouldn't happen. You shouldn't be scared to go to festivals or enjoy your life. So, of course, raise awareness with that. I think that's also, going back to your last question, is important too, for survivors to share their stories, because then you raise more awareness. It's more emotional, it's personal, and that's how you connect with people and say, hey, don't you think there's an issue here? Look what I've had to deal with. I lost my daughter. She should be here right now, but because of gun violence and the laws, this is what happened. So definitely with gun violence. And then also overall, everyone has stuff, that they go through in life and that they need help with. So if I can help just one person with a few words or anything, give them hope, like I said earlier, that's my goal as a journalist.
So if you could have it any way you choose, how would you, what part of gun reform would you support?
I think everyone has, it's so complicated. It's such a controversial thing, but I think everyone should have the option. There's nothing wrong with owning a gun. But at the same time, why do you have to have an automatic rifle to where you can injure 500 people and kill 58 people within a matter of minutes? Why are the rounds still going off? I understand you want to feel protected, and this world is scary. I completely understand where people are coming from. I'm not biased. I see both sides. But at the same time, you shouldn't be able to have military weapons or gun collections to an extent to where it's just unnecessary. And also, I would make it a lot harder to obtain a gun. I think that the laws with that are very loose. They have a YouTube video online. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but kindergartners are taking the gun test and they passed. It's a crazy thing to see and to live in a world where other countries, if you look, have zero, massacres or shootings. And then there's our country where there's more than the number of days in a year. there's a problem. And, obviously, my opinion is just one, and there's so many ways to go about it, but something needs to happen to where it's more strict. There shouldn't. People are trying to fix the problem by giving bulletproof backpacks to kids, or making clear backpacks so people can see. It's just like, why don't we fix the main problem instead of putting a bandage over it?
So I know we talked about this in our pre-interview, but my sister's two children were in a school that had two school shooters earlier this year. And although it wasn't to the degree that you had to go through, I definitely had that scary moment where we were trying to contact my little nephew and he wasn't answering the phone. And the shooter had already been apprehended, and at that point there still was no contact with my nephew. And just that pit in your stomach where, I was talking to my sister and she's just like saying, pray for my son. And then the other one that actually did, contact us, he saw, horrific stuff on his way out of the school as the SWAT team was patting him down, thinking all kids were a threat and a potential shooter. I mean, I actually tried to get the guy who helped stop the person with the gun and on our show, because I just wanted to personally say thank you so much for having the courage to fight back and having the courage to put his own life at risk. And I applaud your boyfriend as well as all your friends that were there that day, because I can just imagine how hard it would have been. Obviously you want to save yourself, but then to have the selflessness, enough wherewithal to help other people too. And just this whole epidemic of gun violence, I think it could at least maybe not be solved, but drastically reduced by what you said. And I really hope that maybe down the road, your advocacy can help bring an awareness to the issue from a first perspective point of view. I guess this next segment that we do is I wanted to have you talk to your younger self. What kind of advice could you give yourself about conquering your fears?
I would tell myself to prepare yourself, because you're going to have a lot of stuff that happens in your life that's going to test you or push you just like everyone else, but there's going to be a lot of things that will test you or put you in a really low place, and I would say you're going to be okay. Like, no matter what you're going through, you're going to be all right, and believe in yourself and work super hard and understand that your dreams aren't silly, and work towards them, because it'll be worth it in the end, doing what you love, and be proud of yourself.
All right, so on this show, we're all about unlocking the secrets to success. And we are, most people think it's about the money or the gold, but it's really about the knowledge. And so I want to talk to you about what are your secrets to success that you could unlock from the vault right now.
I would say perseverance, pushing yourself more than anyone will. My mom was always the biggest pusher for me, and I was like, why are you pushing me? Why are you nagging me? And now I understand why she pushed me so much. I owe a lot of, my success and future success to her and my father. But that's where I learned how to believe in yourself and push yourself. Also, one of the biggest things I would say, being successful means that you do something that makes you feel good, and also that makes other people feel good, whether it's you're an accountant or a journalist or an actress or anything. It just makes you feel good, and it's doing good for people. I think those are two big keys.
I love it. All right, so one of our last segments is, what is your prized possession? So once again, in the vault, I'm actually in a vault right now. We've got all this great wealth. We've got all these paintings and priceless items. What is yours?
I would say my life-saving boots that night. They saved my life, whether or not I hated the guy at the time for dropping all that gross, disgusting water on me. And they weren't even my boots. They were my aunt's. So I was dying. They were $400 boots. They were expensive. They were pricey. So they definitely saved my life, though, because if I didn't go back and try to change them and clean them up and do what I could, I would have been there, and I don't know what would have happened or what would have been fate for that night.
So that shows the power of your aunt and the wrath that she could have incurred on you to make you be so scared to leave a concert that you really wanted to watch. But yet in the end, they became, like, I think, your guardian angel, right? Those boots.
I believe so, yeah.
So our last question is, what is your legacy?
Like I talked about before, I want to help people. I feel like not everyone goes through something as crazy as that. And turn that around and make it a positive thing. If you can, try to make it a positive thing. A lot of horrible, horrific things came from that night, and they will forever be with me and my friends. And I will always remember the 58 people that passed away that night and 500 plus that got hurt that night. That's what it is about. And I wanted for those people and for the people that had a far more tragic experience than me and for the people that didn't get to go home to their loved ones, I want to turn it around and make it a positive thing and, connect with people on a different level and do better for them.
Is there anything you could say to the families of the loved ones that were lost and or the loved ones, if you could talk to them directly right now into the camera?
Oh man, you're trying to kill me, huh? You're trying to
I'm not.
you're trying to get me. No, I haven't, there's so many things I wish I could say to them. I think about them more than I think about my experience. I empathize and I cry more and I hurt more for them. For the people's families that didn't get to see them after that, I'm sorry. I know that it's hard. I know what it's like to lose people that you love so suddenly. I've experienced that. And I would say that they're watching over you and, all the people that did survive and go through these traumatic experiences will represent them so well and will always remember them. A lot of us got tattoos to remember them and different memorable things that we'll do just to keep their legacy living on. Because it's important. It's all about them. It's all about the people that should be here. And we're so young and had such a fun time that night. And we're having such a great time. And it turned into the most horrible night of their lives. And I just wish I could give them a big hug to all the families and cry with them and just say, I'm so sorry that it happened. And I wish that there was something that we all could have done. But just know that we will continue to talk about them and they will not be forgotten.
Well, Gabriella, I'm so grateful that you're on our show. I wanted to tell you what you I know you've talked about this a lot where it seems like you're very composed and put together, but I can just imagine recounting this, many times is very difficult. So I'm grateful for the perspective you gave us on this. And finally, the last question I have is, where do you live online? Where can people find out about you?
They can just go on my Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. Gabriella Castania all across the board. Do you need me to spell it for them?
No, it's okay. We'll put the graphic on the bottom. But so that's the best place. LinkedIn,
Facebook, and Instagram. Yeah, I'm mostly active on Instagram and LinkedIn.
Well, thank you so much again for being a part of the show. Grateful to have you on, and we look forward to hearing all the great things that are up in your future. All right, so if you guys want to be a guest on this show, we would love to have you. We're looking for people, once again, top in the entertainment, sports, and business industry, inspirational content, people who are movers and shakers. We want you on our show, and thanks again for watching The Vault.